Hey, what's up? Welcome to DBR Live. And this week I've got Sophie with me. Hi, Sophie.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. Whereabouts are you today?
I am on the whoop, 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 Signal Media. That's you, Tris.
I'm in Paris in the garden. That's my garden shed. And yeah, I got some blue sky as well, somewhere up there. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Sam can't make it today. And we've got a really cool topic. I'm really excited about this topic. You and I have been preparing, so we've been chatting a little bit. Just so people know, we do try and do some form of preparation.
Yeah, nothing DBR, but yeah, we do some prep, put some thought in, get some opinions. So hopefully this should be quite an interesting one, actually. Not just for in-house recruiters, not just for agencies.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great conversation. So, oh, I just lost you a little bit there.
Do I have Wi-Fi? I do have Wi-Fi.
Woohoo! Okay, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll settle down. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to talk to an in-house recruiter. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is one of the things that I want to do with DBR Live is be able to send some of our content to candidates and to salespeople that talk to us or try and talk to us as in-house recruiters. The other thing that I'm really, really interested in, and it's a bit of a growth hacking thing, when I was looking at search trends for jobs and careers, I found out that the biggest related search trend to jobs and careers is how to write a cover letter. And when I thought about it, I thought this is a great way to figure out when someone's actually looking for a job because they're going to go out and write a cover letter. The thing is, when you look at those how to write cover letter articles, I don't know what you think, but I think they're pretty rubbish, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're just very generic. They don't really get to the point of what an in-house recruiter actually wants to read. And I think that's key. If you're not kind of hitting what is actually useful to get from a cover letter, it's probably better not to send one at all. What do you think to that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Do you? I mean, before we talk about cover letters, I say hi to everyone that's watching. If you're watching, hit like, hit share. Thank you very much for spending your lunchtime with us. We're really keen to get your comments and your thoughts on this subject as well. So let us know how you want us to talk to you as an in-house recruiter. What you think is important. But yeah, I think you're right. Like. Let's talk about the cover letter thing first, okay? Yeah. If you touched on it when we were setting this up, and you just said it again. Like if you're not going to write a great cover letter, don't write one at all. I posted on Recruiters Online this week about cover letters. Because when you search on Recruiters Online, it's a Facebook group. It has more than 15,000 recruiters involved in it all over the world. When you search cover letters, it says cover letters are dead.
Oh, yes. Recruitment is broken. And the robots are taking over. Yes, yes.
I think the real thing about like why people say that is that people don't I don't need a cover letter to apply for a job, right? How often do you get cover letters when people apply to jobs?
I'd say probably about half the time. And of that half the time, maybe about one or two of them a week nail it and do it really well. And I think this is useful. The rest of them sort of use the same kind of stock phrases, and you know that it's cut and paste across, whatever. LinkedIn, Glassdoor, whatever they've used to apply. And I just think, it's not useful. Where's the CV? Yeah. Also, hello to watching. Hi,
that's why
Marnie. Hi. Sorry.
I think that's why people say cover letters are dead, right? Because if you don't need a cover letter. You don't need to put one on. And most people have massacred them so much, right?
Yeah, I think
that
education piece, though. I think, particularly for candidates, job hunting is, fingers crossed, something you don't have to do very often. It's not something that you need to do, kind of very frequently, maybe like once every couple of years or so. It's been just since you've even looked at your CV, let alone your cover letter. So it's kind of like, oh God, do I have to do it all? It's actually a bit of a faff. So hopefully in this video, we can sort of maybe make it a bit easier for people, just by kind of giving them some tips. But yeah, it's I think essentially kind of in terms of adding value with the cover letter, and that's what you've got to do with your application. You've got to kind of tell a story that your CV doesn't. Your CV tells you what you're doing, blah blah. There might be a little bit of a précis at the top, just kind of, this is who I am, ideally what I'm looking for. But what I want to know from CV is why you're applying to this role specifically. A quick note it relates, and any circumstantial or situational things. So maybe you live the other end of the country to the job you're applying for. So adding into a cover letter, I'm relocating down to London from Manchester, and I'm planning on moving down in the next month. That is really useful because it says, I've read the job, I know it's in a different location, this is why I've actually applied for it. Because otherwise I'm just guessing. And then potentially I'm just another recruiter who's calling you up about a job you live nowhere near and aren't suitable for. Thoughts?
Well, and that's exactly key, right? Like writing a cover letter is about adding context to your application. I love the fact that you said, tell me why. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. So lead with the why, guys. I think like that's really important, because if you're going to add a note to your CV, that's what it's got to be about. I think the other thing as well that's really, really important is you've got to remember the recruiter's role within the hiring process. Yeah. I think that a lot of people don't realize that as a recruiter or as a sourcer, I've got to go and sell you to someone else.
Yeah.
Right? I've got to go and explain why I think you're the right candidate for this job. If you do a great job of selling yourself to me, it makes it really, really easy for me to go and sell you internally within the business. So yeah, I'm super keen. So I wonder what people on the comments think. There's lots of people saying hello, so thank you very much for dropping in. I'm super keen. Like, what's the best things that you've seen on a cover letter? What are the things that you've seen on a cover letter? You're like, this is awesome. Drop it in the comments right now. Let us know. Sophie, question for you: what's the best thing you've ever seen on a cover letter?
Oh, that's a good question. Best thing, that is tricky. I've read a lot of cover letters. I suppose for me, one I read recently, and it's a candidate I'm planning on speaking to next week actually, is he submitted an application for a role that's completely different to what he's doing now, but he wrote a really thoughtful tailored cover letter saying, look, I know from my background, I don't have any experience that looks relevant to this role, but I really want to get into what this is doing. I've been reading about Signal Media, which is where I'm working now. And I love that you're doing this and this. Just shows you've done a quick Google search. Brilliant. This job really excites me. I really want to get into this particular market, doing this particular role. Please give me a chance. I'd love to speak to you more about my background, and I'm really enthusiastic. And I think that's an excellent example from my perspective of a candidate who's read the job description, read about the company, put some thought in and said, look, maybe I'm not an obvious fit, but give me a chance. This is why. And it just shows that he's not just kind of blanket sent his CV out to any job he can find. He's sort of taken the time to think about it and actually thought about, what he wants to do. And I think that's really important. And yeah, I really liked it. So yeah, I've reached out to him and I'm in the process of setting up a call now.
Nice, awesome. So he's got through just on the cover letter. In fact, he didn't even need to see his CV, right? And that's the beauty of a great cover letter. I'm also thinking of the best cover letter I've ever saw, and actually it's some time ago when I was working at Blipper. And I hired this. I hired this lady, but she was a recent grad, and she was applying for an account management role when she didn't have any experience. The thing that made me call her was that she told me that she was convinced that this was the right job for her because she was so passionate about the subject and about the thing. And I think we talked about messaging last week. And we made it very clear that the most important thing about messaging is to do it uniquely. If you're copying and pasting your cover letter, stop it. You're not going to get the job.
Honestly, as in-house recruiters, agency recruiters as well, and I think this is probably one of those webinars that crosses both kind of ends of the spectrum there. Honestly, we read probably thousands, in fact, probably thousands of cover letters and CVs in a year, thousands upon thousands, and there was just a few like stock phrases that are the same across all kind of cut and paste letters. And I think just taking the time to say, of course you're going to want to be somebody who is able to work independently but can work just as well in a team environment. That's the core one. But
you just ignore every time someone puts that on a cover letter, and you just ignore them? Do they immediately get rejected?
No, they don't. I'm not that harsh. But I usually, it's just difficult to kind of engage with it and think, you've read this and this is a job for you. If I then go and look at this, I'll look at the CV then, and I'll see if it's kind of relevant, kind of background and things like that. Then I'll think, okay, fine. Yeah, no, they're relevant for the job. But if they're completely relevant for the job and they've done a cut and paste CV and haven't explained like what's kind of propelled them to apply for it, I can only go on what I'm presented with. And that's the thing. It makes it difficult for me to then, sort of put my name out there, both, as an in-house person now and when I was an agency recruiter, and put the candidate forward to my hiring manager, and sort of say, I think it's worth taking 15 minutes, 20 minutes out of your time to speak to this person, because they're going to ask the same questions that I do, which is, why have they applied? Why are they interested? So I've got to be able to confidently answer that. And a good cover letter is, potentially your first step to addressing that question.
I lost you a bit on that last one. To say the last phrase again. Sorry.
A good cover letter is the first step to addressing the why do you want this role specifically question.
I think you're right. Like, you're setting yourself up for success if you do a great cover letter. You're setting yourself up for failure if you copy and paste it. Yeah. You touched on the agency thing.
Yeah.
I posted this in I said, like, today's topic is how to talk to in-house recruiters. I put it in my Facebook group, Growth Hacking Recruiters, and and everyone told me that they don't want people to talk to them. Don't talk to me. I'm not interested in talking to you. I think they were specifically talking about agency recruiters. So why? What do you think about that? What do you think about the reaction?
It doesn't surprise me. It's I think it's much the same as kind of tech candidates being approached by recruiters all the time saying leave me alone. And even in Hung Lee's recruiting brain food this weekend, I think it was with the tool that helps them kind of sort of chatbots away our noise. It's a noise thing. I'll get probably like 10 spec emails a week, and again, it's for me, thinking about how I want to be approached by agencies, just a bit of research goes a long way. We can all, and that's
I think
agencies, hiring managers, recruiters, salespeople, procurement professionals, we can all tell a generic cut and paste, this was sent out through a mail shot system approach from a mile off. And it's I work typically in small companies where budgets are very tight, and I've got to be very frugal with where I place my recruitment spending. And so I've got to think, where do I want to put my potential cost per hire money? Do I want to put it to somebody who's taken a more considered approach, somebody who's maybe made a more kind of human connection, or someone who's just sent me out a generic mail shot as part of 100 other people he's BD'd that week, or she? It's going to be, again, the kind of more thoughtful approach, and just sort of thinking, how I like to kind of interact online and things like that. I love kind of communities. I love kind of interacting with people on LinkedIn, through Slack as well. And the agencies that I've typically worked with have always been people that, probably not gone straight in with the hard sell and maybe kind of thought, hey, I've seen this, it's really good, or hey, maybe someone's introduced me to them, and then we've had a chat and a bit more social, maybe gone for a coffee or something, and sort of got a lay of the land. I don't think I've ever sort of picked up on a sort of a cut and paste. What about you?
I'm thinking about it, and I really like it when people give me compliments first. I'm so vain.
human.
I'm so vain. I like, you know me. I spend a lot of time on the internet, and I spend a lot of time and effort on my social.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to approach me and you want to have a conversation with me, I'm pretty open to talking to anybody, as long as you've done your research first.
Yeah.
And you compliment me. So if you send me an email which is 27 pages long, I'm probably not going to read that.
I probably wouldn't read an email from my mum that was 27 pages long. So
do you know what? I actually told my mum off for writing too long messages on WhatsApp last week. I was like, Mum, WhatsApp is a maximum a paragraph per message.
Yeah,
you don't sit and type, because by the time you got that, I know you're typing. I can see it. Like, you've been typing for 25 minutes now. Yeah, it's all right. She's great, my mom. At least she's using WhatsApp, and she's like over 70 or something. So, I think a really smart and really good approach, whatever you're selling, actually, is to do a bit of research and say, in your first touch, say, hey, I really like this about you. I think this is a relevant point for us to discuss, or there's something interesting for us to have a conversation about. I think that is so much cleverer than any form of BD email that anyone ever writes. You're also not going for the sell straight away. You're going for relationship first, sell second. Even if I know, this is the truth of the internet, right? It takes me less than 10 seconds to look at your CV and figure out who you are, what you do, where you work for, what the product is you're trying to sell me, why you're getting in touch.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that shit in an email, right?
Yeah.
What you need to do, first and foremost, is tell me why you're interested in talking to me. Like I think that's really, really important. So, and I think that's the same with a cover letter as well. If you're when you're running a cover letter or you're approaching a recruiter, when you want to talk to an in-house recruiter, the first thing you should do is realize that they can find out a lot more about you than you probably think they can, because that's our job. We are people research.
Yeah.
We're very quick at figuring out who you are, what you want, and what you're up to.
We are really talking, really good. It's worrying. Yeah. It's worth bearing that in mind. But also our hiring managers are as well. So it's we're just doing our due diligence when we do that. I personally, I personally keep, sort of certain elements of social media, kind of private, and certain are more public. So my LinkedIn's completely public. Everything on there, anyone can read. You can Google me, find it, whatever. My Facebook, on the other hand, completely private. My Instagram, and it's completely personal. And as a result, when you try and search for me, you'll find it quite difficult to find me or my personal social media, and you certainly find it difficult to find much more than maybe the odd holiday photo. But I think some people forget that we are really good at stalking, and so are our hiring managers. So we have to bear that in mind. And if you don't give us enough information, we'll go and try and find it as much as possible. I mean, ultimately, to help people, to help hire them, to help get them opportunities that we think they'll love. But you can cut all that out by doing a really good cover letter and CV, and telling us what we need to know straight up, which is, again, why. But I think touching on social media, that brings us to probably the next part of kind of the recruitment process, which is sort of keeping in touch with your recruiter. Now, I touched on this in the last DBR Live around kind of contact and messaging and, what platforms to use when we were talking about it. But Tris, what are your thoughts on how candidates kind of keep in touch with you during the process? What do you prefer? What do you, sort of what really turns you kind of away from a candidate, you know, in terms of contacting throughout the process? Because that's another useful thing a lot of people don't know.
I think it's really important to remember that that every recruiter is a human and they have a life,
Yeah.
and they don't want you to encroach on their social life. For me, if you WhatsApp me, it freaks me out. Like, I don't like it. I think that's different in different regions where WhatsApp is used in different ways.
Yeah.
You touched on the fact that your friends who recruit in the APAC regions, they are going to use more WhatsApp and WeChat and that kind of stuff because that's better and it's more professional. But I think that there's a hard and fast rule. If a recruiter is talking to you on the phone and they call you on their landline, call them on their landline. If they email you, email them back. If they've contacted you on LinkedIn and then they've emailed you, you are allowed to talk to them on LinkedIn and on email. I think, like, there's a real risk you run of upsetting your recruiter during the process if you get too close. And actually, it's weird. Like,
it's a strange one, and it's out of context. I mean, you wouldn't turn up to somebody's house at 8 in the evening while they're eating dinner, knock on the door and ask, you know, for an update. But you know, so Facebook, for example, is not the one. My Facebook is really private, as I mentioned, and I've had candidates message me. You know, maybe they've had an interview at sort of 5, 6 o'clock. I've gone home. I'm having dinner with my family, and then I get a Facebook message at, you know, kind of 8, 9 o'clock. Hi, really enjoyed the interview. What are your thoughts? Is there any feedback? No, there isn't. But there will be at about 10 o'clock the next morning once I've been and spoken to my hiring manager, and I'm back at work, and I'll email you. And I think it might be, I don't ever think it's a, you know, sort of, I think it's just people are keen, and you know, people are keen, and people, you know, good thing that people are enthusiastic. Maybe just going, right, stop, is this the best way? No, email, fine. Because I mean, you know, you have sort of your mental priorities when you're going through your inbox. Love to read every email before I finish the day. I don't like to leave any unread emails at the end of the day. I know not everyone, you know, can do that. Able to. I'm just like that. So I'll have read your email. If I don't reply in about 24 hours, then nudge me. Chances are I've got busy and distracted, and I'll be profusely apologetic. But yeah. We've had just a note on the cover letters. Josh, thanks for kind of chipping in. Josh has just said on cover letters that he loves a cover letter which covers how the individual relates to the company's values and vision. It shows the person did research and it's more than just a job to them. And I like that. I think it also, again, relates, you know, research piece that, you know, sort of thinking about, you know, putting more thought into sort of your recruitment process is, you know, really important at every stage. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm 100% down with that, with what Josh said. And actually, I'm just thinking about this thing about the social media thing and people sliding into your DMs on Twitter and or like sending you mega long emails on LinkedIn, messages on LinkedIn or whatever. Like, I think you've got to remember that all the way through the process, you are being assessed. Whether it's the first time you respond to an email, whether you're being headhunted or not. A recruiter's job is to assess talent, and so we will assess the way that you communicate, because if you're weird with us, like, we have to, it's our job to communicate that back to our hiring managers and the team we're hiring for. I think it's really important to remember that the recruiter's job is to funnel information to a hiring manager, to a hiring team, to a company. Our reliance, like, we're going to build relationships with you, but our job is to feed that information all the time into the company. So everything you do when you're talking to your recruiter needs to be with that in mind. And so if you're going to a bank and you start DMing your recruiter on WhatsApp, it's not okay because you wouldn't talk to your clients like that at a bank, right?
Yeah.
It might be different if you're looking for a job in a restaurant. Actually, I'll tell you something, okay? Like,
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm not working, and for fun, I was like, I don't really need to work. I'm working on other things, and for fun, I thought, like, there's a brewery that's just opened up down the road,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I could go learn how to brew because I love beer, and so I went and met the bloke, and I said, hey, like, have you got any jobs open? He's like, oh yeah, I'm hiring. And so he's like, he's like, can you have a CV? And I was like, I don't have a CV, because I don't. And but I said, I'll send you an email. So I sent him an email, and then because I like beer, I went back to the brewery 2 days later because it's like 10 minutes walk, and I said, hey dude, and I just like, because I'd met him in the bar, I was like, hey dude, like, he's behind the bar, my wife's with me, we're having a drink. I was like, hey dude, I sent you an email about working in the brewery. And that was okay because I'd met him in real life.
Yeah.
And then followed up with him in real life. And it's always this, like, the same platform. Like, and okay, I don't really need the job, so I didn't care. And he was very honest and very straight up with me. And I said, why didn't you reply to my email? And he's like, oh, I'm too busy. And I'm like, that's probably like the biggest issue that you're going to face if you're a candidate or if you're an agency person is you don't realize how busy an in-house recruiter is. An in-house recruiter gets to work and they get candidates coming one side and recruiters coming the other side and hiring managers coming from here and and whatever, and you're like, ah!
We've got marketing projects, we've got, sort of little side things like, oh, I hear you do this as a hobby, could you help us with this part, especially in smaller companies. We're crazy busy.
That and just stick to the same channels, because otherwise we're going to get confused and it's all going to fall through. We said we were going to keep it super short. It's half an hour.
We're running
I know. I'm like, what else do we have to say about this topic? About, like, how should you talk to an in-house recruiter?
I think it's like, again, it's any kind of base emotional intelligence kind of thing. Follow people's lead. If they contact you on email. If they contact you via LinkedIn, carry on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'll message and say, hey, LinkedIn's a bit unreliable, here's my email, drop me a note. Great, fine. If I say, hey, you've got my number, great, call me, drop me a text, I don't mind. Agencies, again, I think the ultimate thing for candidates, agencies, anyone really, is just personalization and just thinking, like, why am I reaching out to you? And just making that the salient point of your cover letter, your BD approach. Sound good?
Yeah, and I think that is a great summary. Keep it short, concise, and tailored to who you're talking to. We're really, really good at spotting bullshit. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're going to see if you templated your message. Not saying you can't write that short paragraph about yourself that you use every time, but make sure that everything else in that email is key and it's really relevant to what the message you're trying to put across is. If you're watching this video, please hit like, please look at the comments. We respond back to the comments even when we've finished the broadcast. We're back in 2 weeks with the one and only Hung Lee for, I know, it's really excited about this. We got Hung Lee on the show. We are doing an Ask Me Anything. So this is DBR's opportunity to have a chat with Hung Lee one-on-one via me and Sam. And we're going to be talking about everything from politics and Brexit through to robot recruitment. And to be honest, like, we're going to be talking about the fact that he's the BDFL, the benevolent dictator for life for DBR, because he set this up. So I'm really keen to tell that story again, in terms of how DBR came about, what happened, how he came about, and how he picked it up. That's really, really cool. And then we've got to pick some subjects for the rest of the year still. So if you've got
any suggestions, in-house recruiters, agencies, if you've got anything you want to hear from the mysterious world of DBR, hey, candidates as well, if we can help you, that's what we're here for. It's what we want to do. So let us know.
Sophie, thank you very much. If you're watching, thank you very much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye. Bye-bye.